They didn't do it on purpose because the narrative, the salacious and fake narrative against Donald Trump, was what they wanted out there to kneecap his presidency.
Kash Patel just leaked the identities of the billionaires who have allegedly been controlling Trump behind the scenes. And I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people online are sitting here like, okay, this actually explains a lot, because there have been certain bills Trump has signed and decisions he's made that genuinely left people confused. Like some of these moves had people asking, who is this really benefiting? And of course, one of the biggest names people keep bringing up is Elon Musk. Between the government contracts, the influence over social media, AI, satellites, and politics, people are convinced these billionaires have way more power behind closed doors than we realize. Even executives tied to companies like Boeing and Honeywell Aerospace are also reportedly in position to benefit from increased Pentagon weapons production, which has now sparked a bigger conversation online, because people are wondering if these political decisions are really about helping America or helping powerful businessmen make even more money. So now the internet is spiraling with one major question. Is Trump actually in control, or is he just the face of something much bigger behind the scenes? Let's dive right in.
The dossier, which now everyone has said, when I first saw it, I said, let's just do some investigative 101. Does that hotel with that room even exist in Moscow? It doesn't. It literally doesn't exist.
Now, all this really started going viral when Kash Patel recently accused the Bureau of lying to federal judges to obtain warrants that were allegedly used to illegally spy on Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. According to Patel, Democrats supposedly went overseas and hired what he called a bogus intelligence asset to create fake and unverified information that was then used to justify surveillance against Trump and his team. Now you see, this is where people online really started spiraling, because a lot of them are asking if something like that could allegedly happen to someone as powerful as Trump, then what does that say about how politics actually works behind the scenes? People are starting to believe the narrative around Trump back then may have been shaped a certain way because powerful people didn't want him in office at the time. But now, fast forward to today, and Trump is literally president again. So people are asking, what changed? Because if the same establishment was allegedly against him before, why does it suddenly feel like some of the richest and most powerful figures in America are now standing right beside him?
How much are you spending, would you say, over the next few years?
Oh gosh. I think it's probably going to be something like, I don't know, at least $600 billion through 28 in the US. Yeah.
It's a lot.
No, it's significant.
Now there's this whole alleged list going around online, and when you actually take a closer look at it, people are low-key onto something here. Because first, you have what many are calling Trump's inner circle. These are the billionaires and political strategists that critics believe are helping shape major parts of government almost like it's a private business operation. And of course, the biggest name people keep talking about is Elon Musk. Elon's influence right now is honestly kind of insane when you think about it. Between social media, AI, satellites, government contracts, electric vehicles, and now politics, people are saying he has his hands in almost every major conversation happening in America.
Yes! This is what victory feels like.
And then you add Vivek Ramaswamy into the mix, and suddenly this whole Department of Government Efficiency thing starts sounding less like politics and more like a billionaire board meeting. The idea behind it is supposedly reducing government spending and cutting regulations, which sounds good on paper to a lot of conservatives. But critics are saying, okay, reducing regulations for WHO, exactly? Because when you remove regulations, giant corporations and tech billionaires often benefit the most.
Vote Trump. If you want to reignite the economy in this country, vote Trump. If you want to revive national pride in this country, vote Trump.
Then you've got Howard Lutnick, the Cantor Fitzgerald CEO who's serving as Secretary of Commerce. Now this is where things get deeper, because trade policies and tariffs can literally change global markets overnight. One decision can make billions for certain industries while hurting others completely. So people are saying, if wealthy businessmen are helping shape these policies directly, where does the average American even fit into all this?
As I travel around, the attention on the Trump Gold Card, it makes me very popular. Last night, I was out to dinner and someone came up and said, can I buy 10? And how do I buy 10? And I'm like, That's pretty good. It's $50 million for dinner. So.
And then there's Scott Bessent, another billionaire figure who's heavily tied to the oil and gas world. Reports say he's focused on boosting fossil fuel production and protecting those profits, which immediately sparked backlash online because people think environmental concerns are being pushed aside in favor of making more money. And honestly, this is where the internet starts connecting all the dots together. Because every time there's a major policy shift, people immediately look at who benefits financially from it. And most of the time, it somehow circles back to billionaires, defense companies, tech investors, or oil executives.
How much has the president told you about what he's going to say tonight?
It's going to be a surprise to me too, but I think he has some favorites and some least favorites in the media.
Now let's talk about the transactional power players, because this category is the one making people especially suspicious right now. Miriam Adelson has been one of Trump's biggest financial supporters for years. She reportedly donated over $100 million, and critics believe her main focus has always been Middle East policy and strong support for Israel.
Now I met Alan Dershowitz, and he said the legal thing about 4 more years, we can do it. Think about it.
So now people online are revisiting Trump's foreign policy decisions and asking whether political alliances are sometimes influenced by billionaire donors rather than public interest. Then you have Timothy Mellon, another massive donor, who reportedly poured over $100 million into Trump-aligned political groups. People believe donors like this are investing in long-term conservative policies, especially when it comes to judges, taxes, and economic rules that benefit wealthy families and corporations.
Okay, so this just got a lot weirder. The mystery billionaire who recently sent a huge donation to Donald Trump and the federal government has ties to Jeffrey Epstein and his crimes. Yeah, so the mystery man behind the donation, his name is Timothy Mellon.
But the TikTok situation is the one that really has TikTok spiraling right now, because people noticed that Jeff Yass, who has major financial interests tied to TikTok, was reportedly donating huge amounts while Trump's stance on banning the app suddenly softened.
TikTok is back. You know, I did a little TikTok thing. We have a guy, TikTok Jack. He's a young kid, like 21 years old. And we hired this guy, and I went on TikTok. Can you believe what I'll do to win an election?
And now the internet is like, hold on a second. Are political positions changing because of national interests, or because billionaires are lobbying behind the scenes? And once people started asking that question, the entire conversation got way bigger. Then you've got Steven Schwartzman from Blackstone, who critics say benefits heavily from favorable tax treatment and deregulation in private equity and real estate. And honestly, whenever tax cuts come up in politics, people always ask the same thing. Who actually benefits the most from them? Because regular people hear tax cuts and think relief. But critics argue that billionaires and massive corporations often walk away with the biggest advantages.
The CEO of Blackstone makes over $7,000 a minute. Think about what you make in a month. He makes that in one singular minute of work.
Not forgetting, Linda McMahon, the WWE co-founder, is heavily connected to education policy and school privatization efforts. Critics believe wealthy figures pushing school choice are slowly turning education into another profitable industry instead of focusing on improving public schools themselves. Now, obviously, not everyone agrees with all these accusations. Trump supporters argue that these billionaires simply support policies that grow the economy, create jobs, strengthen industries, and keep America competitive globally. They believe successful businessmen are naturally going to align with leaders who prioritize business growth. But critics see something very different. They think politics is slowly becoming controlled by wealthy elites who influence decisions behind closed doors, while ordinary Americans deal with inflation, rising costs, and economic uncertainty publicly. And honestly, that's why this story has people so hooked right now. Because whether you support Trump or not, the bigger question is actually kind of scary when you think about it. How much influence should billionaires really have over government? Because once people start believing that political leaders answer more to wealthy donors and corporations than voters themselves, trust in the entire system starts falling apart. And right now, that's exactly the conversation exploding online. People are looking at wars, media narratives, tech policies, taxes, energy decisions, and foreign relations differently now. They're no longer just asking what happened. They're asking who profits from it happening. And honestly, the silence around some of these billionaire connections is making people even more suspicious.